This is the 11th video in the Jefferson Flats series. In our last video, I walked through the method that I use to make sure I've got enough cover here. That would be manually, instead of using a rule set, I simply created a circle and moved from catch basin to catch basin with this circle. I want 7.5 feet of cover. This profile view shows me a 10 times vertical exaggeration, so I need a circle with a radius of 75 to show me that 7.5 feet of cover. And you can see at this structure I've got 7.5 feet. I like the circle because I can just move it to the next catch basin, or in this case there's a low spot between these two catch basins, or between these two structures, so I can snap the center of that circle to this low spot and make sure that my pipe stays below that circle at all points. So again, I'm going catch basin to catch basin to make sure I've got enough coverage, and then if there are any low points along the way, for example, here's another point on my surface that is lower than the rim elevations of the two structures on either side, and you can see my pipe is below that. And just to be safe, there's another low spot here, kind of a surface irregularity, and if I double check, I do have clearance. So I have met the requirement for that 7.5 feet of coverage, and I did that for both of the profiles that I created. The only thing I had to change on the second profile was this first pipe, because the rest of these pipes I already fixed in this first profile. And notice these are dynamically linked. As I select one pipe on my first profile, notice it selected that same pipe in the next profile. It will select that pipe in every profile that it appears in. Same thing with structures. If I select, let me see if I can move over, if I select this structure, notice it highlights it in both of my profiles. So you do have to be careful about deleting parts. If you delete a part out of one profile, it will delete all of those parts from your profiles. So be careful with removing parts, and understand that if you change a part in one profile, it's going to change that elevation in all of the profiles that particular part shows up in. So I would have to go through and create a profile that shows all of my parts for all of my pipe networks. Every part needs to be represented in at least one profile. I like to, again, see sort of a linear flow along all of the networks from a particular structure all the way to the outlet. If you only want to show a portion of a pipe network, you're free to do that. But for example, all of these different branches, I could just show maybe a catch basin and a pipe and another catch basin in a profile. So for example, I could map this little branch of a pipe network in a profile, and then I could in a separate profile show this branch, but I would show this connecting structure in both of those profile views. So something to keep in mind there. Also, I have added some labels to these pipes so I can make sure that I'm maintaining proper slope. The project requirements here, I'm trying to stay as close to 0.5% as possible, but in order to maintain coverage, in some places I had to go over 0.5%. So you can see I've gone to 0.77, here's 0.85%, now I'm over 1%, and then I go back down to 0.69%. After I've done my vertical changes on these pipes, I would want to take these slopes and re-input those into my pipe calculator and make sure that I still have the appropriate sized pipes. So a little bit of back and forth between your drawing and your pipe calculator, just to make sure that any changes you make in your drawing are not making significant changes in your pipe calculator that would require a different sized pipe. So something to be aware of there. Also, the ultimate goal is really to try to stay as shallow as possible with the storm network, and shallow in terms of slope, so that when I get to the outlet, I'm not, 20 or 40 feet deep, because in the real world, that sort of excavation becomes really costly. It's expensive, it's dangerous, and if you can avoid having an extremely deep trench, that's probably best. So I will start moving forward with the placement of my sanitary networks in videos to come, but I think for now, at least, the process for creating the storm network and figuring out the vertical placement has been sufficiently covered. So I'm not going to go through and make videos for the rest of my networks. I will start creating a sanitary network to service all of the residences, offices, apartments, and shopping center that we see on this site. So we'll pick that up in our next video.